In the spam meta of Season 6, outside of the Turbo Cringe Bunker, there are some ranged DPS that have seen a rise in playtime, and two of the more fair and balanced heroes are Sojourn and Soldier 76. But with a similar playstyle, who comes out on top? Here's the head-to-head for these two heroes. Look forward to more of these types of videos every once in a while, where we compare two similar heroes and weigh up their strengths and weaknesses. If you want to get more info on learning how to play them more effectively, check out the link in the description for a GameLeap membership. The website is chock full of resources to help improve in the game for individual heroes, and even offers courses covering Overwatch basics that are critical to learn and internalize for even long-time players. Let's get right into the head-to-head, starting with the most basic part of a damage hero's kit, the primary fire. Sojourn has a projectile tracking weapon that increases in spread after 12 shots, which is ideal for closer ranges or choke spamming. The projectile speed is actually 160 meters per second, which is insanely high for a projectile. At those close ranges, you're really not going to notice it at all. But with 126 DPS, it's definitely on the lower side, even doing less damage than Orisa's 130 DPS. The real burst damage comes from her secondary fire, but let's compare with Soldier's pulse rifle first. Soldier has his classic hitscan rifle with vertical recoil. With just a little practice, the recoil isn't a disadvantage, but for new players, it's definitely got a learning curve. He beats out Sojourn by a landslide with 171 DPS, which is crazy high among similar mid to long range heroes. Both characters have to track their shots, but while Sojourn has to lead them, as you do with projectile travel time, Soldier only has to handle a small vertical recoil. Like I said earlier, at close ranges, the leading shots is barely necessary. But when you get to longer range, Soldier gets the advantage. Primary fire only, Soldier takes it, no sweat. As for the secondary fire, our two heroes swap types, with Sojourn hitscan rail shot and Soldier's tried and true helix rockets. Sojourn's rail shot has a maximum damage of 130, while Soldier lies just a little below at 120. Sojourn can shoot her railgun more often, as she only needs to hit a single bullet with her primary fire to be able to snipe it out, but the damage is negligible compared to the maximum of 130. But with good primary aim and timing with the rail, she's able to get kills unbelievably fast. When shooting an unhealed target from 0 charge, you'll be able to one-shot them, no headshots required, when you hit 65 charge. Soldier's helix rockets only have a 6-second cooldown, but hitting direct shots requires more aim and gets harder at longer ranges. Keep in mind that you can hit splash damage, but direct hits are what you need to be looking for. Sojourn barely wins this one out by having the ability to headshot with her railgun, bringing her 130 damage up to 195 with her 1.5 times headshot multiplier. Her primary fire also has the normal 2 times headshot multiplier, giving her more opportunities than Soldier can to hit the skill shot for a big reward. Secondary fire, Sojourn ekes it out with a slight advantage. Now that the weapons have been covered, how resistant are they to incoming damage? Let's take a look at their hitboxes. Sojourn's hitbox was only nerfed halfway through Overwatch 2, and it's definitely more balanced now, but she's still shorter than Soldier and with a skinnier hitbox. When it comes to strafing, Sojourn is definitely harder to hit, despite her torso hitbox size increase. Soldier, on the other hand, has always had a big hitbox, so Sojourn takes this one for sure. But when it comes to evading damage, mobility is also key. For movement, mobility, and agility, Sojourn's slide is one of the best movement abilities in the game. Not only does it have instant high-speed horizontal movement, but it can be used to jump to most high grounds too. Because of the slide mechanic, she also drops her hitbox while still firing normally, making it much harder to hit while doing it. Soldier's no slouch either though, and with his normal sprint with no cooldown, he has incredibly fast repositioning. And while Sojourn wins out in normal 80-80 spam strafing with her hitbox, Soldier's safety dance has never failed yet. Soldier also has his rocket jump, casually taking space and on a shorter cooldown than Sojourn's slide, not to mention that his sprint allows him to hit some jumps that other characters simply can't. Despite Sojourn's slide being incredibly strong, Soldier's flexibility is equally potent, meaning this is a draw. Moving on to utility and defensive abilities. Both characters only have one for themselves. Sojourn's disruptor shot is perfect for locking off choke points and paths that enemies are trying to push through, or even placing on a tank to pressure them away from their position. But defensively, she's only got her escape tool power slide, which doesn't really count. Soldier's heal station has recently been buffed back into glory, which means it's not only good for helping Soldier stay alive, but his backline can use it as well. A secret old age combo to survive almost any dive is to pop a heal station and a defensive antinade, turning that heal station into a mercy pocket for anybody inside it. And because of that team support ability, it definitely counts as utility as an anti-dive tool, so Soldier takes this round. Onto the final big boss cooldown, the ultimate. The opener, the finisher, overclock versus tactical visor. First off, how long do they take to charge? Whenever you deal damage or heal damage in the game, you get an ultimate point. And Soldier needs 2,500 points to get his ultimate, which is actually the 3rd longest charging ultimate in the game. It's pretty rough. Sojourn is 400 points ahead, only 2,100. and that puts her slightly worse in the middle of the pack. Cost-wise, Sojourn will get her overclock more often. But as for pick potential, she's also got the advantage. Designed to be the ranged version of the Dragon Blade, she outperforms her inspiration by being able to 2-tap body shot 200 HP targets, despite doing less overall DPS than Soldier. As for Soldier's visor, it's a normal aimbot, 171 DPS to anyone in his sights. But his damage falloff still applies, unlike Sojourn's rail shots. Outrange the visor and you'll be dying a lot slower. Sojourn can also weave in her primary fire between her automatic charge during her overclock, adding just a bit more DPS to close the gap between Soldier's higher damage output, making her the clear winner. She's also got 8 seconds of her ultimate compared to Soldier's 6, and a lot can happen with 2 seconds, especially with a railgun. Soldier is only better when combined with Kiriko's Kitsune Rush. He gets a way better advantage, but every other support buff gives even value to the both of them. The ultimate advantage goes to Sojourn, giving her the lead with 3-2. Now for one of the biggest criteria, synergy. A character can be great, but if they don't combo well with the strongest compositions, they'll be overshadowed instead. So how do these two fit into the spammy frontline Orisa comps? Both heroes do enough damage to add to the fray, but what can they do to give their team an advantage above the rest? Sojourn's answer is her railgun shots, looking for key bursted headshots using the charge gained in the spam war. She can play with her team in main and look to punish the enemy DPS and supports with a rail shot to the head. Soldier instead has to rely on the flanks to get surprise picks, since it's much harder for him to find one-shots through the entire enemy frontline. Since his rocket is much less reliable in this matchup, flanks are quite good, and Soldier actually has more damage on the tank when he is fighting with his team. Soldier's flexibility actually gets the edge, giving us a close 3-3. To finally decide on a winner, despite both these heroes having a solid performance so far, how do they perform in the 1v1 against each other? In the case of both heroes peaking at the same time, with around 10 to 15 meters distance between the two, Soldier's damage is much higher. Sojourn's Disruptor Shot outdamages Soldier's heal station, which is really important, but Soldier has the one advantage I haven't mentioned yet. His Helix rocket has knockback, which interrupts the aim of whoever it hits. You can shoot your rocket either to start the fight or end it, but both are viable, while Sojourn can only shoot her rail at the end of the duel to finish her target. Sojourn does have headshot potential, but with a well-placed rocket and solid tracking, the Soldier can't lose. And there we have it, 4-3 to Soldier. The old beats the new. Keep in mind that there are other compositions where Sojourn has the advantage, but for now, Soldier's got the edge. Let me know in the comments which heroes you want to see head-to-head next, and I'll see you next time.